I never believed in rituals until I watched one conjure something that shouldn't exist. My name is Alyssa, and I grew up in a sleepy Pennsylvania town where urban legends outnumbered people. But nothing prepared me for what I saw last October when a group of friends, out of boredom, summoned something real. It was Sam's idea. He was always the one chasing the paranormal Ouija boards, ghost hunts, cursed books. We laughed at him, but deep down, we liked the thrill. That Friday, under a full hunter's moon, he proposed we try an old ritual from an anonymous Reddit post. The post claimed it could summon a shadow entity, not a ghost, not a demon, something older, an echo that fed on attention. Sam said we'd just fake it for laughs. But even then, his eyes didn't match his grin. We gathered in Chloe's garage, dusty, dim, forgotten, candles in a perfect circle, mirrors facing each other to create an infinite tunnel. Salt poured in lines around us. It felt absurd, like a horror movie set, but the air was heavy. The ritual called for silence. No phones, no electricity. We recited the incantation in sync Latin, we think. With each word, the shadows in the mirrors seemed to stretch just a little. I told myself it was my imagination. It had to be. After the chant, we waited. Nothing. Then Chloe's dog, locked outside, started howling. Not barking, howling. A long, hollow wail that made my bones ache. That's when the garage light, which was off, flickered. Once, twice, then dead. We laughed nervously. Sam checked the breaker. Nothing tripped. I looked at the mirrors and froze. Behind me, a shadow lingered, but no one was standing there. I turned around. Nothing. Turned back, still there. I called the others over. They saw it too. A shape tall, thin, shifting just out of sync with our movements. Chloe, pale as chalk, whispered, "It's watching." Sam smiled too wide and said, "We did it." We broke the circle to get closer. That's when things got worse. The salt was supposed to protect us, but Sam kicked it accidentally. The moment the line broke, every candle blew out. Total darkness. No streetlights, no phones, just black. I heard breathing, not mine, not theirs, deep and wet. I reached for Chloe's hand. She wasn't there anymore. My scream caught in my throat. I turned to where Chloe had been, only to find empty space. Sam called out her name. No answer. Then from the corner, a whisper, ragged, like wind dragging through teeth. It said her name, but wrong. The matches wouldn't strike. The flashlight app wouldn't open. We were trapped in pitch. Chloe's voice echoed again, but it wasn't her. It was mimicry, warped and stretched. "Alyssa," it hissed, like a mocking lullaby. I bolted, fumbled against the walls. I found the garage door jammed. Then something brushed past me, cold, like walking through dry ice. And in the mirrors, movement, fast, like it knew I was looking. Sam shouted for us to regroup. I grabbed Parker's sleeve and yanked him close. We counted only 4. Chloe was still gone. Sam muttered about reversing the ritual, but he didn't have the post anymore. His phone screen had shattered. We decided to relight the candles, blind, crawling, feeling wax nubs on the floor. I struck a match. One flared. It revealed something crouched by the mirror, tall, thin, head tilted too far, watching. Then it vanished. Sam found the salt bag, tore it open with shaking hands, and began redrawing the circle. But the salt scattered strangely, like wind was blowing from within the garage. No breeze, just pressure. Like the air was exhaling. We backed into the circle, now jagged and incomplete. Parker muttered prayers under his breath. Then, from the darkness, a dragging sound. Slow, like wet feet slapping against concrete. Closer. Louder. Then silence. The door creaked. We turned as one. A figure stood in the threshold. But it wasn't Chloe. Too tall, too thin. Limbs just slightly too long. It moved in shudders, like film with missing frames. It smiled wrong. I screamed. Sam threw salt. It hissed in the air like acid on water. The figure recoiled, but didn't vanish. Instead, it looked at me, eyes like wet coal, hungry. Then it stepped into the mirror and vanished. Chloe's voice returned, clear and panicked, from outside the garage. We ran, found her lying in the driveway, eyes wide, breathing shallow. She whispered, "It's in the mirror. It's still in the mirror." And then she passed out. We carried Chloe inside, but her eyes stayed fixed on the mirrors. "It watches through them," she whispered. I glanced nervously at the reflective surfaces. The shadows weren't still. They moved like smoke, creeping just beyond the edge of vision. Something was waiting. Sam insisted we destroy the mirrors, but something held me back. The mirrors felt alive, as if they were the only barrier between us and that thing. I ran my fingers across the cracked glass, and it rippled like water. Night deepened. The others fell asleep, exhausted, but I couldn't rest. I kept hearing faint scratching behind the mirrors, like claws tapping on glass. Then, a voice so soft I thought I imagined it whispered my name. I got up, flashlight trembling in hand, and approached the mirrors alone. The shadows stretched toward me. The air grew cold, biting. A shape formed indistinct, yet undeniably there pressed against the glass from the other side. Frozen, I watched as the figure pressed a long, thin finger against the glass. The surface trembled, then shattered inward like a pool breaking. I stumbled back, heart pounding, breath visible in the freezing air. Sam woke to my scream. We gathered and swore never to speak of what we'd seen. But that night, all our phones lit up with a message. "I see you." No sender, no number. We tried to leave town, but every road seemed to loop us back, the horizon twisting like the shadows themselves. It was as if the entity had tethered us, refusing to let go. Days passed. Chloe remained catatonic, trapped in her own terror. We researched frantically. The ritual's origins were obscure, linked to folklore about shadow spirits who prey on attention, feeding and growing stronger the more you look. Parker found a dusty, leather-bound tome in the library archives. Inside was a reversed incantation, a banishment spell. We memorized it, desperate for a way out. That night, under the same hunter's moon, we returned to the garage. Mirrors still stood, untouched. The salt circle redrawn. We chanted the banishment spell, voices low but steady. The air cracked with energy. The shadows screamed a chilling, deafening noise that shook the walls. The mirrors cracked, spiderwebbing rapidly. A cold wind swirled, tearing through the garage. Then silence. Dead silence. We dared to open our eyes. The mirrors were shattered, salt washed away. No sign of the shadow figure. Relief surged, but brief. The next morning, Chloe was gone. No note, no sign of struggle. Just the faintest shadow lingering on her bedroom wall, flickering, watching. Panic set in. The entity had not left. It had taken her. We realized it wasn't just a shadow, it was a parasite, feeding on fear and attention, and it wanted her body. Sam led us to an abandoned cabin deep in the woods, rumored to be a site of ancient rituals. Maybe it held answers or a way to save Chloe. Inside, we found symbols carved into the walls, similar to those in the Reddit ritual, but older, darker. The air smelled of damp earth and decay. Something pulsed beneath the floorboards. As we explored, shadows danced on the walls, twisting into grotesque shapes. A cold breath brushed my neck. We weren't alone. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the basement. Sam shone his flashlight down the stairs. Faint eyes reflected back. A shadow figure, more solid than before, lurked in the darkness. We chanted the reversed incantation again. The figure hissed, retreating, but it snarled and lunged, knocking Parker into the stairs. He hit hard. We dragged Parker out, bleeding but alive. The entity was growing more aggressive, desperate to keep its hold. Time was running out. With Parker injured, we returned home. The house felt suffocating. Shadows moved in corners, whispers crawling into our minds. The entity was everywhere. One by one, we started seeing it, the tall, thin figure standing just beyond vision. It never fully appeared, but the dread it brought was suffocating. Chloe's shadow appeared nightly, a flickering silhouette begging silently for help. We were haunted not just by the entity, but by the guilt of leaving her behind. In desperation, I found an old diary hidden in Chloe's room. She'd been keeping notes on the ritual details we missed, warnings we ignored. The diary spoke of a mirror gate, a thin veil between our world and the shadow realm. The ritual opened it, and the entity slipped through, but it could be closed at a terrible cost. That cost was a sacrifice. Someone had to stay behind, trapped between worlds, to seal the gate forever. We argued, terrified. None of us wanted to be the one left behind, but the entity's presence was tearing us apart. Sam volunteered. He said it was his fault, and he was ready. We didn't argue. Back at the garage, we prepared the final ritual. Candles, salt, and Chloe's mirror the gate. Sam stood in the circle, resolute. We chanted. The shadows writhed and screamed, clawing at the salt lines. Sam's figure flickered, blurring like static. He smiled sadly, reaching out a hand toward us, then disappeared into the mirror with a final whisper, "Be free." The glass shattered inward. Silence fell. The garage was empty, peaceful, the shadows gone. Chloe's voice whispered faintly, "Thank you," and then no more. Days later, Chloe awoke, confused but alive. The shadows had released her, but the cost was clear. Sam was gone. We visited Sam's parents, who mourned but didn't understand the ordeal. We swore to keep the truth secret. Some things were too dark to share. The mirrors were destroyed, the salt scattered, the garage emptied and abandoned once again. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I see a shadow in the corner of my eye. The ritual had changed us. Fear now laced our dreams. Shadows no longer harmless absence, but potential horrors waiting. We learned the hard way. Curiosity can summon what's better left unseen. The entity feeds on fear, grows stronger with each glance. I keep Chloe's diary safe, locked away. Sometimes I read the pages, remembering. The ritual's lure is strong, but the price unimaginable. The entity's echo still calls in the silence of night. It's patient, waiting for the next curious soul. And me? I watch shadows now, wary. Sometimes I catch a flicker just beyond the light, a reminder that some doors, once opened, never truly close. If you ever find yourself in a circle of salt, candles flickering, mirrors facing each other, beware. Sometimes the shadows aren't empty. The ritual is real. The shadow is real. And it remembers. This story is a warning, not a myth. It's a whisper from the darkness, a chill on your neck when no one's there. The next time you see your reflection move just a little too late, listen. The shadow might be watching. And if it calls your name, don't answer. Because some things in the dark don't want to be found. They want to find you. I'm Alyssa, and this was the ritual that summoned a real shadow figure. Remember, some shadows are more than absence of light. They are presence, waiting, hungry. Stay safe, And whatever you do, don't invite the shadows in. Thank you for listening. If this story stayed with you, subscribe for more mysteries that whisper in the dark, and I'll see you in the next episode.